I'm calling the meeting to order for the WEM School District Study Session. Today's date is April 9th. Time now is 6:06. Board members present are Pam Baker, Travis Bowman, Dan Houlihan, and Gary Michael. Jay Schneider, Jeff Stangler, and John Velishek are not present, to my knowledge. If they are in the room and we're not seeing them, please speak up or flash your hands or something. Okay, and then according to the MSBA, I am supposed to read something, an opening statement, just so people know what the process is, because it is electronic. Due to the current federal and state emergency declarations, the Minnesota directive to residents in stay at home is to stay at home, and guidance about limiting person-to-person contact due to COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting of the WEM School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statute 13D.021, meeting by telephone or other electronic means. Due to the health pandemic, the school board determined that it's not feasible for board members or to be physically present at the regular meetings, and it's not feasible for the public to attend these meetings due to the health pandemic. Persons may monitor this meeting from a remote location by participating in the Zoom meeting, which was posted on the WEM Facebook page. School board members are reminded to mute your microphones when you're not speaking. And basically, I think what we'll do is when we get to each topic, go around and make sure nobody has any questions before we wrap up a topic, just to make sure we're allowing everybody the opportunity to ask questions and be heard. So when you're recognized, we'll go alphabetical. The board members should unmute your microphones and speak, and then mute your device. We don't have any voting other than to approve the agenda. All voting is conducted by roll call, and that will be how future regular meetings would be conducted. So there is no public comment during this meeting as well, but we will have public commenting procedures in place for our regular board meeting next Monday, which will be electronic. This meeting is being recorded, and access to the recording will be available on the district website as soon as reasonably possible. And those were the MSBA guidelines that recommended to be read before each board meeting that is going to be done electronically. So if there is a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Oh, excuse me, before that we get started, I suppose we should appoint a board clerk.
Yes.
So Gary or Travis or Dan, would you mind stepping in to be the board clerk? All right, but first of all, we have a clerk. Do we have a clerk? Did somebody amazing step up to say they would do that? Did I see Kathy Houlihan in the background? I'm just kidding. Mr. Bowman, do you want to clerk the meeting?
Sure.
Please? Thank you.
Can you hear me?
All right, so Travis Bowman.
Hello?
Travis Bowman has been appointed clerk. All right. So now that was made by Mr. Bowman. Is there a second? I'll second the agenda. So Travis Bowman made the motion and Pam Baker seconded to approve the agenda as presented for the study session. By roll call, we'll approve the agenda. Pam Baker, yes. Travis Bowman,
Yes.
Dan Houlihan,
Yes.
and Gary Michael.
Yes.
Okay, so 4-0, motion carries and agenda has been approved. All right, so first up is an update on distance learning. And we ended the week number 2.
Week number 2 in the books. Just a quick little update as far as where we are. I think the first question that I always get is, what is the governor telling us? And he actually, every Tuesday and Thursday now we have conference calls with the Department of Education, and sometimes he makes an appearance. He did make an appearance last Tuesday and said at this point, he's still hopeful that we will be able to open up school in May. He has not made a decision regarding closing for the remainder of the year, and if that decision is made, he will let us know as soon as feasibly possible. So that's the first question I usually get. And with that being said, the MDE staff have been very helpful. They've been providing a significant amount of guidance for us. The documents they've put out have been very easy to follow, and they've been good for us and providing us direction as we move through these uncharted waters. As far as food service is concerned, we still continue to provide meals for those in need. Today we provided 262 lunches. In addition, we're still providing daycare for those essential employees. Total, as a matter of fact, today we had 5. Usually we've been running around 6 or 7. Our staff themselves have been excellent in banding together to do what's best for kids. I'm very proud to be part of the WEM school district and everything that we're doing for them. I know we've had people reaching out to all students if they have touch base yet to make sure that we have some format to make sure every well checks, if you will. So that's kind of from my perspective where it's been. I know the principals have some few things that they can share as far as updates and information they've been receiving from their teaching staff and students.
Some other things that we can say is that we weren't exactly planning for the unexpected. I think we were planning to deliver as highest level of education as possible. What we did discover is that the servers and Schoology in particular got overloaded with as many users as were on at one time. That was during week 1. After that, for this week, it was a check and balance on how much is too much with work and what students could handle. And so I think we're getting some good feedback. A survey is going to go out either later tonight or tomorrow on some student feedback as well as family feedback. What else can we do for them to help them be successful? So the student survey will go out to students in grades 4 through 12, and then the family survey will go out to all district families. It's a short survey. It'll give us feedback that we can respond to in a timely manner.
Yep, and I would echo all of those things. I would say that participation has been good. And for students that maybe aren't engaging, we are following through with phone calls from teachers. If no response, we continue going down the line to counselors and then to the admin. But we are on top of students who maybe aren't as engaged as we'd like them to be. But yeah, overall engagement's been very good and we've had a lot of positive feedback.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we'll go alphabetically to give board members an opportunity to ask some questions, so we have some sort of format to it. So we'll go with Travis. Do you have any additional questions about distance learning? Travis, you're muted right now.
You said there were some hiccups. Is it just the volume? Is that the problem? The volume of kids being on it at the same time, or?
Yes, that has been the issue. It hasn't been internally. It's been more of the platforms that we're utilizing have been crashing.
And I would say a lot of the kinks seem to have been worked out. While sometimes the platforms do run slower than others, Basically what I got back from Dan Lemke last week is Schoology went from being able to handle on and off logins to having essentially 4 million students on it at one time. And so the system was just overloaded.
Any other questions, Travis?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking that, you know, some of these kids probably only have so much time to be on the computer, and yeah, I guess we all have to be patient. I guess I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Dan, do you have any questions, comments in regard to the update on distance learning?
Not too much. I would have expected some hiccups of sorts. At the university, we had to shift over, and we have an awful lot of support and all that. And despite that, it's different. I was supposed to have 3 sets of verbal presentations from 13 students, and that all of a sudden turned into nearly 250 papers that I have to read. So it's kind of different when you convert, and sometimes it's not apples to apples at all. I think if I were to have set it up as an online class, I would have done it a different way, and I would think probably there's people in the district thinking the same, but it sounds like it's going as well as could be expected, so that's good.
Okay. Gary?
How many, or do you have any that just haven't shown up now for a week and a half? Any students like that? And what do you do in that situation?
Sure. I would say pre-K4, we've had very few. I can't think of anybody that we haven't heard from completely at all. We have a few that are hit and miss, and some that are less than we'd like to, so we follow up with them. But pre-K6, I can't think of anybody we haven't heard from at all. Anything 7-12? I don't.
There were just a few students that were not being heard from and not attending their Zoom or Hangouts. And I did a well check on one student. So the Seward County deputy visited the house. And then today I got a hold of a family member that confirmed that they were okay. So got some information and got further contact on that one. And then for the third one, calls have also been made. And I feel like we're in a good place. But otherwise, we have been able to touch base and connect with people as best we can.
Anything else, Gary? Okay. I guess my only question would be just understanding from a parent perspective, the expectations of the teachers while we're doing the distance learning. And I'll start off by saying I think they're doing a phenomenal job. I mean, some of them are answering emails at 10 o'clock at night, and unfortunately my child is sending emails at 9 o'clock at night to submit things, you know, and it's I don't know that it's necessarily that they're procrastinating on submitting it. I just think it's a lot. Suddenly a 6th grader is typing out answers to social studies questions, you know, and it just the expectations of teachers and knowing how often should your child be online, what's the right amount of time. I mean, I think it's just such new territory for all of us. It's just hopefully, you know, even having more communication from maybe the principals and understanding what are the teachers expected and what would be normal for my child. Liza, the 6th grader, has a lot of online meetings. 8th grade, not hardly any from what I've seen, but I don't know if they're doing it right or doing it wrong. So I'm looking forward to the survey. Thank you for putting it together. I think that's going to give us some great feedback. I think everybody's doing a phenomenal job. It's just, I think there might be a lot of confusion about what are the expectations. Like, is my child doing enough or not enough? So. All right, any other discussion about distance learning? I'm very happy that you guys have a couple of days off now. Everybody has a couple days off to regroup and get ready for next week. I know the excellent, outstanding teachers are not going to take those days off, but I do, and I hope they recharge. Any other distance learning updates, discussion items?
Did I miss something? Who gets the day off?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow? Oh, is it spring break?
Yes.
Oh, didn't know that. Thank you.
Gary, the Easter Bunny is right there. Come on, man, get with it.
Gotta hide some eggs.
Okay. Next item is upcoming events, activities. Guessing this might surround maybe graduation or?
Yeah, a whole host of things I just put out there and just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. First of all, internally, we're scrambling like mad to see if there's a means to reschedule these activities. Just a quick little list: prom, night of excellence, graduation, spring sports season, ACT test, and band and choir trip. So just off the top of my head, I only came up with 6 that have affected people within the last month and a half. So internally, I know there have been some surveys going around with the students to see what they're interested in regards to prom. I think a lot of this will be dictated by the Department of Health and what they will allow us to do going forward. I certainly believe that every attempt will be made that we can have these activities, just not positive when they will occur. One event that I do know for sure that has been changed and rescheduled is our ACT exam. Our ACT exam has been moved to June 2nd. Due to construction in the building, we have contacted the Morristown Community Center, and they've obliged us and they will allow us to have students go in there. They've got, if you haven't been in there, they've got a large hall that we can do social distancing, so the students can take the ACT on June 2nd if they're interested. Another piece that we are working through is the band and choir trip. We did have to make deposits on those. Some vendors are returning the funds. Others are saying, no, we're going to save them as a voucher and credit it forward. So right now they're trying to determine if they want to reschedule the band and choir trip, or if they just want to maybe get some cash out. And so they're working hard with the vendors to try to find a resolution to that issue.
Bummer. It's all kinds of dynamics. How many seniors were affected by the band and choir trip?
I would say right around 25.
Oh, wow. So rescheduling it becomes a real challenge because they're trying to move
Yes.
on. And so board members, do you have any additional questions about activities, or did the principals have anything, or Jeff, do you have anything to add about the additional activities? We're all like, we don't know, right?
That's as I stated earlier, I'm not so sure how much we are going to be able to control.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
One other piece that's in discussion mode is if we don't have a spring sports schedule, how do we handle coaches' pay? Does that occur, not occur? Do we have to do something different to earn those funds? I just float that idea out there for consideration because I'm being asked.
Well, if there isn't any sports, I don't understand why coach would get paid,
It's just been asked of me. I don't know. Not sure if it falls underneath the governor's order. I'm seeking some clarification on that. I know some schools are paying. I know some schools are having coaches working individually with fitness plans and so forth with students, but that'll be our decision.
Travis, do you have anything to add?
No, just a comment. Back in the day, they used to keep a ruler between 2 people dancing in prom. Now you got to get a 6-foot stick. That's all I got.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm not going to follow up on that though. Just, I'm fine.
Gary? Yeah, I've seen, Jeff, do you have any comment in regard to spring pay? Have you been monitoring like what they are doing? I know I've seen some schools have been willing to pay their spring coaches because it's something that they were basically budgeting for in their life. And I know,
I've had a lot of ADs. I was on a Google or a Zoom meeting today with about 235 other ADs from the state. There's been some surveys and things like that that have went around. I would say within the easily over 200 schools that replied to a survey, there's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of nearly 50% that are paying coaches, paying in full our conference. At this point in time, I know for sure Blooming Prairie, Hayfield, New Richland, Heartland. I believe USC is also paying their coaches in full. There are some things they're having them do. JWP, TCU, or other schools I know of that are paying coaches. Again, there are stipulations that go along with that. You know, just to speak on behalf of the coaches and talking about coaching, especially from the head coaching situation. You know, it's not like jumping out of a plane where all of a sudden you're flying. You know, when the season starts, there's an awful lot of work that's gone into that during the summer, preseason, so on and so forth. You know, so again, just on the sake of coaching, it doesn't happen. You know, just as you jump out of the plane, so to speak. But there are an awful lot of schools in our area and also districts that are having them that are paying them, and you know, with that comes some other responsibilities. Some of it may be checking in with kids individually each day, perhaps coming in, maybe doing some other types of, you know, I wouldn't say so much training things or not. It's kind of hard. They could maybe have some different things, drills and things like that you could work on. But, there's an awful lot of other schools in our area and that are considering the pay for coaches. I think within our conference, two others are contemplating and talking about are Medford and Maple River as well. I'll hang up and listen.
no, I was just curious if you had some, you're the one who's got the boots to the ground in that area, so. All right.
Just wondering, would there be, I'm just trying to play out the scenario. Would there be some conflicts with the unions as far as, you know, they're not coaching, but yet they're getting paid? You know, I mean, you know, during negotiations, there's so many things going on with the unions, what you can and can't do, and what's fair and what's not fair. You know, just something to think about.
I think that's some question that I could run by the union. I learned a long time ago two things. One was never to speak for a school board, and the second one was never to speak for the union. So I will follow up on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is our building project. Exciting news, something
Yes.
exciting.
Just a couple of informational items in that regard. If there is an upside to the students not being here, some of the contractors have been able to get into the buildings and get their blueprints up and get a lay of the land and get a feel of what they're going to need to get started. As a matter of fact, we have cleaned out the wood shop in Morristown. That's where a lot of electrical panels and so forth are going to go, so the electricians can start getting in there and doing some of their work. We have gone out for bid for asbestos removal. They have come back in. It's around $210,000 to abate the remaining asbestos in the Morristown building and the Waterville building. They will get started on that as soon as physically possible as well. In the Waterville site here, they will start probably either tomorrow or beginning of next week, removing the soffit on the elementary where the addition's going on the north side. So they're going to begin doing some work in those areas to get us started. We have received some color samples out of my league as far as what carpets could look like, door frames. I'm waiting for some more, and then we'll probably ask some people for some opinions to go forward with that. And just as a reminder of the schedule going forward, this summer the plan is for Morristown to be completed, the Waterville Elementary to be completed, and the entrance to the high school, the new secure entrance at the high school to be completed, as well as the asbestos abatement. So the thought has been is if the governor does close school for the remainder of the school year, we'll look to get staff in, at some point to remove their materials and get ready. So maybe construction could begin a little sooner, right afterwards. With the distance learning in place, maybe we can make something happen and we won't have to wait till May 18th.
Okay, that's all exciting news. Travis, do you have any questions or concerns?
No, I don't.
Dan?
I'm fine.
Gary? Okay, Gary's good. No, it's exciting to see that go, and it's unfortunate that we're kind of left in a limbo not knowing what's going to happen with May, because that would probably help with getting rooms put together and or boxed up anyway.
In my opinion on this has been, I have people asking, mainly on the construction world side, if you come back, you only have 9 days of school remaining, and should the students come back? And I think it's going to be in our best interest if we have the opportunity to bring students in. We're going to have some crisis issues and some mental health things and security issues that we're going to need to work through. And I think it'd be good for them at least to get a little basis, even if it is only for 9 days.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hey, I did have one question. What was the dollar amount that you talked about for asbestos in Morristown?
Well, it was for Morristown and Waterville. I think it was like 77,000 in Morristown. These numbers are off the top of my head. 177 or 77 in Morristown and 130 in Waterville.
Oh, okay. So it was.
I just added them together.
Okay, so it was about 200,000.
Yeah,
so
it was it was 210, and that's for just the abatement. And if you remember, we also have to have somebody do the air door quality and monitoring, so there'll be an additional cost over that. That's just the bid for the removal. They physically will have someone on site every day to monitor.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, last call for building questions.